Hey guys, Matt here. If you've been thinking about getting into UX UI design, let me tell you, now's the perfect time. Companies worldwide are realizing how important design is for creating great products and building successful businesses, and they're investing big in UX UI designers. Whether it's crafting user-friendly experiences, designing visually stunning interfaces, or creating the next big app, this is your moment, and trust me, there's a place for you here. In this video, I'm going to break down my process of what I'd take if I were getting into UX UI design in 2025. I'll also share how to leverage AI to boost your workflow without replacing your creativity. So if you're ready to start your UX UI design journey, let's dive right in. All right, so first up, we need to figure out which path in design you want to take. Do you love problem solving and making things easy for people to use? UX design or user experience design might be your calling. Maybe you're more into the visuals, creating sleek, engaging, and beautiful interfaces. That's user interface or UI design. Or if you want to shape the entire experience of a product from start to finish, that's product design, and that's maybe where you can shine. Breaking down these roles a little more, UX design focuses on user research, user flows, wireframes, and the overall function of a product or website. UI or user interface design focuses on color, typography, visual aesthetics, and animation. A product designer can be thought of as a mixture of both. Bit of UX design, bit of UI design, plus the overarching strategy and business goals of the product. Take some time to explore each area before you jump in. And remember, you don't have to be locked into one role. Many designers wear multiple hats across UX and UI and become hybrid UX UI designers, like me, for example. So no matter which path you decide to go down, and before you jump into design tools, there are two things that every successful designer needs, and that is a rock-solid understanding of design fundamentals, and more importantly, a user-centered design mentality. These core skills become your toolkit and not only help you make designs that look great, but they work well for real people. Some examples of the fundamentals and principles that you want to look at would be things like typography, color theory, visual hierarchy, layout and grid systems, spacing, and balance. Now, it's easy to get caught up in things looking beautiful and the aesthetic of the design, but if your design doesn't work for the user, then it doesn't matter how nice it looks. And that's why adopting a user-centered design mentality is absolutely crucial. When talking about user-centered design, we're talking about designing solutions to real problems for real people. It's about putting your users at the heart of every decision you make. Remember, you're not designing for yourself, your boss, your colleagues, or even your client. You're designing for the people who will actually use the product. Another huge part of user-centered design is research. You can't design in a silo. You'll need to conduct interviews, run usability tests, gather feedback from actual users throughout the design process. This helps you understand what they need and why they need it. And here's a pro tip: stay humble. Users might surprise you with what they find challenging or difficult from your designs, even when it seems obvious to you. Some key principles of user-centered design: empathy, and that is understanding and relating to your users. Iteration, design, test, and improve based on user feedback. Accessibility, ensuring your design works for everyone, including those with disabilities, things like color contrast, scale, and simplicity. The best designs are often the most simple and most intuitive. So, to really build a strong foundation, adopt this mindset early. Always put your users first. Mastering the design fundamentals like typography, layout, color is important, but what truly makes a great designer is someone who understands their users and solves their problems. That's what separates a good designer from an exceptional one. Next, we need to master the tools of the trade. So if you're a UX UI designer in 2025, you need to get used to using industry standard software. And as of now, Figma's the tool to learn. Don't just learn the basics, go all in. You want to master things like auto layout, components and variants, variables. You want to learn to prototype and create visually engaging animations. You want to learn about design systems, how to create them and how to use them. The better you know your tools, the faster you'll be able to bring your designs to life. And remember, with tools like Figma, they're constantly updating and releasing new features, so you want to stay on top of those and keep your skills sharp. So next, we want to immerse ourselves in examples of great UX and UI design. This will begin to train your eye into what good looks like and how it behaves and functions. Some great resources to explore for this would be sites like Mobbin. On Mobbin, you're able to see real apps and website screens from start to finish, whether it's an app showing the full onboarding process, the registration process, the dashboard, etc. You're able to see all these different screens of big companies that have put real products out into the world, and you're able to study those and see how they solve problems. Dribbble is a really great community for designers where they upload shots of their designs. This is really great to see creative ways to solve problems and perhaps approach a design solution. If you're into website design, sites like Awards is a really great showcase to see what people are creating online when it comes to animation and creative websites. And lastly, it's always good to look at your phone and what apps you have installed. I'm sure there's some apps you've got that have really beautiful, engaging experiences. Open those, have a look, have a study, and figure out how they solved problems, because looking at other people's work is the best way to learn. All right, here's a practical tip for you. As you're getting familiar with Figma and learning what good UX UI design looks like, why not find your favorite mobile app and try to recreate that in Figma? Pay close attention to things like spacing, alignment, typography, scale, and color. The more you practice your skills, the more comfortable you'll get with what good design looks like. All right, that brings us to step 5, and that's leveraging AI as part of your workflow. By 2025, AI will be an even more important part of our design workflows. But here's the thing, AI isn't here to replace our jobs, it's here to help us work faster and smarter. Some examples of how AI can help a UX UI designer in our workflow would be things like automating repetitive tasks. And that could be things like resizing elements in Figma, renaming layers. Other examples might be generating color palettes. But one I use all the time is copywriting. And this is where I can open up ChatGPT and ask it to create me an engaging, persuasive headline for a website, or create an engaging call to action for my button or form experience. So use AI to automate the tedious stuff so you can focus on the fun, creative parts of the design. AI can't replace your human intuition, and that's what makes your design special. So once you've learned the basics, it's time to build yourself a portfolio that tells a story. But here's the trick. Your portfolio shouldn't just be a collection of pretty designs. It needs to tell the story of your design process. I'd recommend creating compelling case studies that show that process. Some great tools for creating websites relatively quickly would be things like Framer, Webflow, or even hosting your work on Dribble can be a great way to get it up there with minimal effort and time involved. So even if you don't have any real projects or client work to show just yet, getting comfortable creating case studies of your own concept work, and that could be, for example, redesigning your favorite app in Figma, redesigning a website that you've seen online, things like that. Just creating the case studies and getting comfortable communicating in that way will go a long way with a future employer. Ways I like to structure case studies would be things like talking about the overview of the project, then going into the problem. How did you approach the problem? What was the problem you noticed and how did you intend to address it? Then getting onto the solution. So how did you come up with the solution? How did you incorporate user feedback if that was relevant? How did your design evolve throughout the design process? And what's the final design that you ended up at? Lastly, what were the results? How did the design perform? Are there any stats that show the effectiveness of the design? And again, that's probably more important when you get into things like real client projects and measurable statistics and things like that. But it's a really good habit to understand that when you're creating work for real paying clients, your work needs to perform. Like we said at the start, it's all about the end user performing a task, solving a problem for that user. And if those designs perform for the user, the project will see results. Remember, employees want to see your thinking and process, not just the end result. So there you have it. If I was starting UX UI in 2025, these are the exact steps that I'd take. Choosing your path, developing a strong user-centered design mentality, mastering Figma, building a killer portfolio, and staying ahead by leveraging AI. And most importantly, you want to keep learning. The design world is wide open for you, and there's never been a better time than right now to jump in. All right, guys, if you found this video helpful, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more design tips and advice. As always, thanks for watching, happy designing, and we'll see you in the next video.